All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Jackson Black. Welcome to another revitalizing, invigorating episode for your ears. Tonight, I am joined with my guest. She is sending out an SOS, professional wrestler. SOS, how are you doing tonight?
I am good. How about you?
I'm doing great after we got through the technical difficulties there.
Right.
I always have the problems. So I like to let's just jump right into it. What made you fall in love with professional wrestling?
I kind of like the usual, like I've watched it my entire life, but I really wasn't huge into it until I think right around the time like in WWE where Paige showed up in NXT and I started watching a little bit of NXT and like I got pretty much set from there. Uh and I didn't really get solidified to where I wanted to be a wrestler until like Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha came up and they had that whole Divas Revolution is when I was like, you know what, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And I was like in college around that time. So I was like, do I really want to? And I was like, yeah, why not? Like, it's all good. Things will work out. So, and here I am. So,
Right, that was the same thing. I was like, well, you better do it before you can't do it.
yeah.
So who did you like look up to, like besides anybody else that you kind of looked up to, like I'm gonna try to be that kind of professional wrestler?
um, Owen Hart was a big one because I loved watching him back then. And then when I would watch the stuff on like their network at the time, like that was a huge thing. And then Kevin Owens, but back when he was in the Indies, because I had seen one of his indie shows. That was the only time I've ever seen one of those. And I was like, oh, I want to be like him because he was like big and I'm very thick myself. So I was like, oh, I could probably do some stuff like him. And I could. I don't think I'm ready to flip though, is the thing, because he used to be able to do flips and stuff. And I don't think I'm ready for that yet. But that's kind of like where I was at. I was like, oh, I want to be like him. I want to be like Charlie. I want to be like Becky. I want to be like Bailey. Like I wanted to kind of like really be like these ladies and gentlemen that I like kept watching and just like put my own aspect into it. So, and I feel like I've at least have tried and started. So
I feel that. I feel that. I always go. I throw back. I'm not super far back, but
yeah,
people ask me like, who's the number one professional wrestler of all time, and it's Jazz. Jazz is my number one.
jazz
Jazz
is awesome.
Jazz came in when it was like really gimmicky,
yeah.
and she was a legit badass. Like she was. I feel like if she was around now, she'd be taking heads. Like
Yeah, she was there before her time is what I always thought. Like if she was there right now, she would really like be blended in with the other ladies there. Like it would work out so well.
oh, I feel like if I was in the ring and I heard like her music hit, it would be like the equivalent of like Brock Lesnar. I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a long night.
Yep, exactly.
So who were your trainers? Who trained you up in the business?
So I train out here in Arizona and the company is called Arizona Wrestling Federation. They've been around for a long while. But my trainer is Lawrence Tyler, who actually used to be part of WWE for a while, like for a huge like a little stunt for like a few years, I think is what he had told me. So like he's taught me. I've learned a little bit from other like independent wrestlers, and one big one that I've very much like learned from because I wrestle a lot of his trainees is Gino Rivera. He's the one that like I reached out to like, hey, can you watch this and give me feedback? Because he lives in New Mexico, but whenever I connect with him, like he's always happy to reach out to me and give me feedback and help me out and things like that too. But like those two like are my like mainstays. Whenever I like want feedback or I go to training still every Monday and Wednesday, I always go to training and I'm always there with LT learning like all the like basically brushing up my own stuff or I'm like, hey, I want to learn something else and I'm there like training night every night. So
I feel that. I feel that. I have had a hectic work schedule. I used to do that like all the time. I would
yeah,
train like after I think like after the graduation, I would still go back like 5 days a week, and it
yep,
just came so much because the classes would get so packed and there'd be so many
yep.
people there. Oh, anyways, let's go to like what was I love this question because some people are a little cocky with it, but how was that first bump?
It hurt. It hurt. They had explained it to me and I landed, but like it took me a while, I will be honest, to get my hips up so that my lower back wouldn't hit so hard. But like I'm lower, like the lower part of me is heavier. So I was like, I'm not understanding this. So they had to teach me a different way to kind of lead up to actually bumping properly. And then I was like, okay, but the first bump was like, ow. Cause like I didn't really, when you go there to train, you don't know really how the ring is and how they do it, how like what's under the mat. But until you like, they teach you how to like tear it down and things, you're like, oh, so that's what's under there. And when I was training, we had like a thinner layer under the mat. So I felt more of the wood in the bar than like just the mat and the padding. So like it hurt, but like after, obviously after a while you kind of get used to it. And I was like, okay, cool, I can get used to this. But no, the day after my first one, I felt it. So
That and like the first time you hit the ropes, I don't know. Like I got a giant bruise, like just a gigantic bruise.
I didn't bruise. I was just sore, and I felt it too.
It was like that big.
Yeah, I would just feel it when I would like move. I'd be like, "Oh, that's uncomfortable. Where's this from?" And then I have to recall like they had taught me like to do the ropes, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that would make sense."
Oh, it's so brutal. Did you guys do like tape training at all? Like did you have to rewatch your first matches?
Yeah.
Like, oh.
I still have the copy of it too, and I hate it. Every time I look at it, I'm like, this is how I was. I don't like it. I'm so glad I'm different now.
Like there was like no match structure. I was like, oh, let's just do what you see on TV.
Yeah.
So bad. I just beat a kid up and kept whipping him into the corner, Stone Cold Steve Austin stomping him, and then throwing terrible basement drop kicks. Like the whole match.
See, I think I was doing terrible chain and like body slams. Like I was able to do those and like clotheslines, but my clotheslines kept probably like hitting the person's neck. So I probably like killed that person for a little bit, but they were being nice about it because I was new. So, but like, yeah, no, I still cringe every time I either think about it or I look back at it. I'm like, ew.
Oh, it was so brutal. I didn't enjoy any part of that. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. So, do you have let's go. I like this one too. So give me a fun road story because everybody has like weird road stories. You got a good one?
Yeah, I do have a good one. So, I was riding from New Mexico to Colorado with Dante King, Gypsy Mac, because I make my way halfway to New Mexico and then they drive the rest of the way so that I don't have to drive 10 hours. And we had stopped nearby at a Walmart, one to kind of grab some stuff and like one to change because they learned from Gino that like you should dress professionally. And I was pretty much dressed professionally, but also I was just kind of like in chill clothes because I don't like to dress up so much. But they were like they were changing, and we were like in the back of the Walmart, so then like nobody could see us, and like there was no semi trucks there, so it wasn't a problem. But this guy kept coming around, and we were like very cautious. And I was like, I was telling them like, yo, this dude's like looking at us. I don't know what's going on. And he eventually came around and was asking what we were doing, and like we were telling him like we're wrestlers, we're just like we're getting changed. Can you go? And he was kind of getting agitated. And I am very quiet, just naturally quiet in comparison to how I am in the ring. So when I spoke up, he kind of was just like a little shook. And I was like, dude, you should just go. Like, because I didn't talk the whole time. I was like, dude, you should just go. Like, we're just here for a second. We're not doing any kind of crazy stuff. We're not like doing drugs or whatever. We're just changing so we can go to the venue and we don't look like we're just sitting in our cars for like several hours in just like shorts and a t-shirt. And then he like eventually left, and then we all got in the car and left. But like it was just so weird because I've never had like a situation happen like that before, and they never had either. And so the running joke is crazy stuff happens when I'm with them. So because like I don't know why, but like some crazy stuff happens the day of the show. Like whether it's somebody shows up like that or we see something crazy happen, and they're just like, yeah, that's the SOS thing. That's her fault. So I just roll with it. It's a vibe.
Right? I feel that. I feel that. I've only had like two really weird ones, and then
Mhm.
you get the creeps that are like,
Yeah.
"Hey, can you send me like used gear?" And I was like,
See,
"No, because
I have not gotten
oh,
that.
you're
I know,
lucky."
I know it's probably going to happen, but I haven't gotten that yet.
I'm like, I tried to impart the wisdom onto this guy. I'm like, this gear is like very expensive. So like, if we're gonna do game use stuff, I mean, I have no problem. I'm all about making money, but it's gonna cost you like double or triple because I got to
Right.
get new gear made.
Right.
Like, never did it, but it's super creepy.
Yeah.
Super creepy. And it happens a lot. I have this one guy. There's this girl, Michelle Green. She's around the Indies. She's now in like Germany or wherever. This
Mhm.
guy keeps sending me emails like telling me to add him on Facebook, but I'm like, obviously the name on the email is not her,
Right.
and it's gone on for like months now. Poor guy, poor guy. So let's go to first match. So your first
Mhm.
match, let's go to like let's go day one. How you were fit, like right before you get there, then the curtain, and then maybe right after you get back out from out there in the ring to the back.
Okay. Are we specifying as far as like student showcases or actual like
Oh no, day
half
one.
that? Okay.
Day one of like this is your first act, like these aren't people that you've been in the ring with probably. These are
Okay.
okay, we're at our first venue, first event, and
Okay. Um my first real like first match that I did it like it wasn't a trainee that I worked with or one of my like my trainer's wife wife used to be a trainer too and I faced her at one point. But outside of that, my first one I was in a triple threat with somebody named Black Widow. I think now she's down in Mexico now. Um and I was super nervous because I was asked by the booker, who knows my trainer, like, "Hey, do you want to come like work?" And my trainer's like, "I gave you the green light, so you can go wrestle wherever you want now if you wish to." And I was like, "Okay." Um, and I didn't know her. She didn't really know me until like the day of. So I was nervous because I went to the venue and I was like almost thinking I was lost until I found everybody in the back. So that was the problem. Like the first day, I was like super nervous. And then I met her and it was kind of cool. Like I wasn't like thinking that we couldn't work together. Like we had a good way to kind of like make the match the way it was. With our other opponent who was somebody I did train with, but we were like trying to keep her like as out of it as possible because they wanted me and Black Widow to kind of like be able to work each other a lot more, to showcase me. And I was like, okay, cool. So we were working our stuff, and then we went to the back when everything was ready. And like right at the curtain, um, I had to like have them give me a pep talk because I was like so nervous because like these are actual fans. These aren't my friends and family I had asked about. Like these are actual fans. And they're like, "No, you're gonna do great. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Like, don't freak out." And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna freak out. And I wasn't actually freaking out until I wasn't freaking out after the curtain. It was just right before. And people even ask me that now if I'm always nervous before I go out there. And I'm like, yes. Like it doesn't matter who I'm with. Like I could be facing the same person multiple times in different states, or like I could be facing the person I already know. But like I'm usually nervous right until like I get out there because I'm just like I want a good match. I want to make sure this looks good. I want to make sure the other person looks good. I want to make sure that they're safe. But then once I'm out there, like I'm focused, I'm intense, and I'm good. But like beforehand, I was super nervous. But my first match, I was asking everybody to give me a pep talk. I was like, "Yo, you guys have any tips? Because I'm nervous." So, but yeah, no, everybody was nice about it because they knew that was my first like legitimate match. Um, and they were just like, "Yeah, you know, like we've seen like what you do with training because some people like have come to the training or they've heard of me from my trainer, and they know like I could do good work. It's just a matter of like I just have to get over the nervousness and then I'm fine." So, but yeah, that was my first actual like match, and it was good too because I had one, and then I turned heel. That was like my first actual like thing. Is like he was like, "Yeah, I just raised her arm," and then like last minute just like clothesline her, and I was like, "Okay." So so that was my first time like even being a heel because I had practice, and every time I was practicing being a face. So like that was my first time being a heel, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So that made me even more nervous, but it was fine because it was only at the end. And then like after that, like my training was like trying to get me to understand how to be a heel and how to even work who I am as a face or a heel without actually like having to change what I am. Just be the same me, but just like different angles, I guess, if that makes sense.
Oh no,
So
I totally get it.
yeah.
I did the first. I think I did like the first year as a babyface, and they're like, well, you talk. You're a really good talker, so we want you to turn heel." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
that was me. That was me. They're like, yeah, you're good at talking. You're very intense. We're gonna make you heal. And I was like, okay, okay. All this hard work for being a face.
right." Hey, but I think the adage is like you learn how to sell from being a babyface.
Yes, yeah, 100%.
I agree.
That I agree with.
That is a good one. So this was a good one too. So there's a new green kid. Maybe they're messaging you, maybe not. Maybe somewhere they see you in the street and they're like, "Oh hey, I love your work. I'm really nervous. What do I do to become a professional wrestler? What is going to be your advice?"
My advice usually is to see if they can find a school closest to them, and definitely check it out. Because that's what I did. I ended up like looking and seeing what schools were in Arizona because at the time I was going to school in Colorado and I was moving to Arizona. So I was like, oh, I need to find schools down here and figure that out. And I emailed them, I called them, and they were like, yeah, just come check us out when you can. And I gave them a time and a date that I was going to be there. And I checked it out, like saw what they were doing. And I was like, yeah, like I'll come join. And from there, like pretty much with that, and make sure that you're aware that your first day is going to probably suck because you're going to learn the basics. But like in the long run, like if you can stand the first day and just stick with it, you're going to be fine. Because I know like some people get worried about like, oh, I'm not progressing anywhere, like within, and you're only been a month in. Like it takes people years to get through stuff. Like I'm about to go 6 years of training as of next month.
Oh,
So it's like, so it's kind of like it's a progress thing and it depends on the person. So that's like my thing is like find a wrestling school, just be prepared. Like your first day is probably going to suck and you're going to feel it the next day. And also don't compare your progress to everybody else's, including the people that start with you. Because I started with 4 other people and I was the last one really to debut. So, and I just knew like I was frustrated about it, of course, but I just knew it was because my progress was different from theirs. And in the end, I ended up debuting and like in a different company. And then I ended up debuting with the same company I trained with because they wanted to have me in a specific storyline. And it was perfect for the perfect timing rather than being like, just throw me into a match and like it just doesn't really go anywhere. I'm just thrown in a match. So yeah, that's kind of like my things to tell people who want to like be part of pro wrestling and stuff. So
I agree fully. I think I went like 6 months after before I ever debuted.
yep.
I didn't feel ready like myself.
Yeah.
I feel that. I do feel that. So you've been in the business a minute.
Yeah.
What has been the funniest in-ring moment that you've been a part of?
Man, I'm trying to remember because a fan had I was a heel at the time, and the fan told me like said something to me, and I was like, yeah, you should go like back to your mom's basement or something. And I had to turn around because I started laughing because my tag team partner was laughing. And I was just like, God, I can't be a heel because I'm going to laugh at my own shit with my tag team partner who, like, if I look over at her, like, she's one of those people that don't look at them if you want to have a serious conversation. Because if they're laughing, I'm laughing. So like, I had to be the serious, like, intense heel, like, yelling at this person. And that fan was super cool about it too, because like he messaged me the day after, and he was like saying like, "Oh, you're so awesome. Like, I hope what I said didn't offend you." And I was like, "Dude, you're fine. I'm sorry if I offended you." But like, yeah, like my funniest like moments happen whenever I either yell at a fan or I hear a fan yell something. Because I think I had a match with somebody smaller than me, and I like had body slammed her, and somebody was like, "Stop! She's already dead." And I'm just like, I had to like cover my face with my hair, and like she's also laughing, so I'm just like, we have to keep going. Like we can't just sit here and laugh. But yeah, like my funniest moments are just when people either I yell something or somebody else yells it at me, and I have to like somehow keep a poker face, but it never works out.
I feel that. That same guy that says she's dead is the same guy that when someone chops you goes, "Oh, that was weak. You should do it again."
Yeah. Yep.
I don't like chops. Ugh.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
chops hurt. And whenever I see people get chopped, like I feel like I feel it, and I'm like, ah.
I've been in the back, and no monitors or anything, and I'm like, "Oh my god, did you hear that?
Yep.
That sounded like a gunshot." Come back and like they got like eagle
Yeah,
wings.
it's like all, yeah, they have the fingers like all you can see the whole handprint. Yeah.
Ooh,
No, thank you.
not about that. Not about that. Oh, I'm just thinking of chops now. Oof. So, what has been like probably your toughest opponent you've been in the ring with?
Um, Probably the current one that I always keep wrestling, Gypsy Mac. Like I think if you see like if anybody ever actually sees my Facebook, like I've been wrestling her for the past like year or so, and it's probably going to continue to because we're basically eternal foes at this point. Everybody likes watching us wrestle each other, but she's definitely my toughest because one, she is a tough chick, and two, like we always end up one upping each other somehow in the match where we'll just do something and I'm like, oh, that's new. Or I'll do the same thing to her, but like she has pushed me pretty much to like to my limit and then some. And I like that. I like a challenge because it helps me learn like, oh, these are my weak spots, these are my strong points. I need to like work on these. How basically how to be a better professional wrestler. But she definitely is like one of my toughest. And I'm pretty sure I'll have more along the way now, but like as of right now, she's definitely my toughest and she's one of my favorites too.
I feel that. I think I got a shirt like random. I think I ordered like a Pro Wrestling Tees random mix bag, and it came in with one of her shirts, like
Oh,
a tank
nice.
top. And I was like,
That's awesome.
it's funny you dropped that name. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I hate most gimmick matches, and I know we all get in them. What's been the strangest gimmick match you've been a part of? Because there's always like a whatever the city is street fight, or whatever the city is, somehow it's like a rope match that's completely different than all the other bull rope matches or whatever, but like same thing.
So I haven't been in a lot of them, but I know because I went to work for Wrestling Pro Wrestling in Cali, and I forgot what the Battle Royale match was for. I can't remember, but it was like supposed to be for like their Thanksgiving, like that their Thanksgiving show. And I got put in last minute because they didn't have somebody, and I was just kind of there in the back, like just being a back person in case they needed somebody or they did need an extra person. And they had me with my opponent. Like I was beating him up, and then he pulled out a ring and asked to marry me. And I said yes and kissed him, and then like we fell down, but he basically pinned me, and that's how I lost. And it was the funniest thing to me when we were talking about it, but like watching it back on it, because they have like a Twitch and like they showed it again, and I went to go watch it, and I was like, wow, that is the funniest shit I've ever done, because I haven't done a lot of like comedy like shows or a lot of gimmick matches, but like that time I was like, you know what, I really want to, so if I get an opportunity, I'm going to throw myself into it, because there's so much fun. Like I get we want to be serious, but I also want to have some fun sometimes like that. And that was a lot of fun because like the fans popped for the whole marriage proposal thing. And as I was leaving, some of them were like, oh, well, congratulations. I'm like having to play off and say thank you. And it was so funny to me. I was just like, this made my night, like right here.
And that'll be the moment that they remember. That'll be the moment. They're like, oh, remember that show where she got proposed to, and then she said, yes, we should look him up on Facebook.
Yeah, and some of them have found me through that. So I was like, yeah, that's me. Hi.
Still engaged. That we're not picking the date yet. Still engaged here. So if you had the opportunity, like toe to toe, any point in time with any professional wrestler, who would be your opponent?
Bailey.
Bailey.
Yeah. I I am a huge fan of her work, and I am a huge fan of how I mean, based on what I've seen and what I've learned with like being a wrestler, like how she has been able to elevate a lot of the wrestlers that have come through NXT and kind of like really elevate who they are without like overshadowing them, in a sense, whether she's facing them or whether like in this case of Damage Control, being part of a faction. And I like how she wrestles, and I feel like if ever at any point that I'm able to wrestle her, that it would be amazing. And I might like that might be the time I'd be really nervous. But like I would just love to do it because it would probably be amazing, like an amazing match overall.
Oh yeah. And she's had such great. Oh, it happens like everybody goes through evolution of character, but like hers has
Yes.
been so smooth. It's
Yeah.
it's been so it hasn't been like I could say Becky Lynch has had like a couple of issues, like one issue. I just didn't really like the weird shoulder pad things.
Yeah.
That was a strange. It was like they're like, hey, you know what would be awesome is if hey Vince, and he's like, yeah, well, you know what we should do? We should give Bailey the same gimmick we have Seth doing. And Vince was like, oh, that's good shit. That's like that's pretty much
Yeah.
like what happened there. I love
Yeah.
that she's back to being Becky Lynch again.
Mhm.
She's good. I'd be afraid of her. I'd be afraid of
I'm
her.
I mean, I'm kind of afraid of her, so I think she could kick my ass though.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like pretty much everybody. But it's okay. I would still do
Yeah.
it. So looking back, so you're 6 years in now.
Mhm.
What would you like tell child version of yourself be like, or what would the child version of yourself would they be? They'd probably be super stoked about what you're doing right now.
Yeah, 100%. They'd be like, "Oh, this is what we decided to do?" Cuz like child me was like shy. I never talked to anybody. I never spoke up. I wasn't loud. Like so me being loud in the ring is like the opposite of what I was. But child me would like be super stoked. Um and probably be happy too because like I grew up wanting to be an artist, and I do my own artwork on from time to time on my own, and I still use that for my merch. So child me would be super stoked, but I would basically tell if I had to tell my child self something, it would be like it's okay to speak up because like use your own voice because nobody when you get older nobody's going to be there for you to speak up for you. Because I was super shy, like to not speak up even when I was ordering food because I was just like that. I was that shy. I was like, I wouldn't do it. I had to have my brother do it until like my mom was like, no, you have to learn to do it yourself. Um, but that would be like the main thing is like just to speak up, and it's okay to just like be yourself because like if you're not yourself, like the people that you make friends along the way don't know who you really are, and that's not fair to them and it's not fair to you. So that would be like my main two points to make to my child self. But my child self would be super stoked that we're doing stuff like this right now.
Right? I agree fully. I saw somebody had a video, and it's the truth. It's like you can be walking around like if you live in a big city and in wrestling we travel like a lot.
Yep.
You can literally do anything and say anything to anybody as long as you're not cruel or hurtful.
Yep.
You're never gonna see them again. You'd be like, "Did you know it's gonna snow tomorrow and it's summer?" And they'll be like, "Oh man, I didn't know."
Mhm.
Say whatever you want. Be whoever you like. This business is. I hate. I use that word, but that's the word. I hate like when people try to like generalize and be like, "Oh, you got to be like a top tier 10%, 1% athlete to be in
Mhm.
this business." And I'm like, I always shoot them back with, I'm like, "All right, Dusty Rhodes, buddy, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
There you go."
Yeah, because I
And
mean, you could really, if you really think about it, like a lot of you could be still an athlete and still be like, strong and stuff, but like you can't put a bodybuilder into a ring. Like that's what my trainer like was trying to explain. It's like you can have a bodybuilder or like a basketball player or something and like have them in the ring, but that doesn't mean they're in ring shape. It doesn't mean like they can do what we can do. It's just that they have that athleticism. that gives them a little bit of advantage, but like that doesn't mean they can do exactly what we can. And like the Dusty Road things, I agree with that. Like you have somebody like Dusty Rhodes that like even though he wasn't like totally looking to be athletic, he still was able to do the stuff he was able to do and also like play a part. He was able to speak and he was able to play a part. So it's like you could have an athlete who could still play a part and be slightly athletic in the ring and still be able to just like go and be a wrestler. It's just a matter of who they are and how they want to like roll with it.
Yeah, my coach told me he's like, this much is the in ring. It's like this much. Everything else is personality, and you got to sell yourself. Yep. And I didn't. I was like, oh, this is gonna be wrestling. No, because I was an amateur wrestler. It's not even close to the same.
Right. Yeah, no.
not what I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so here comes the corny question because I do it all the time. What's your Mount Rushmore? And then I add a hard one because this one always stumps people. +1, so you got to give me top 5.
So the tippy top would be Jazz 100%. Because I love her. I love her. Then I probably would put. I don't want to put her up there because like I don't like her right now, but technically she's doing a good job. Would be Charlotte. I'm like 50-50 with her right now because I didn't like her before, but like I think it was because I was like, oh, she was a heel, she was annoying. But like now that she's come back and I'm like going back through her stuff, I'm like, no, she's a good wrestler. It's okay. It's the character I just don't like. But it's definitely her, and I would say like obviously Bailey. Bailey would probably be number 3 on there. My 4th would be I probably would say Alondra Blaze.
Ooh, okay.
She's I've watched a lot of her stuff, especially recently because I've been watching a lot of the stuff like in the 80s, like 70s, 80s, 90s era. And like I wish her and Luna, which Luna is also in my top, would like if they were here like in wrestling right now, they would have gotten exactly what they wanted because they really just wanted like time to showcase themselves. They never did because they were in an era that women's wrestling wasn't a thing. And if it was a thing, it was for like 2 minutes. Yep. So like I feel like those Alondra and Luna are like part of my Mount Rushmore for 4 and 5.
I love Luna. Luna was like, she was good on the mic. The character was so deep. Yeah, like so deep. Yeah, I tell people, they're like, yeah, I want to be a gimmick wrestler, and I was like, man, the best luck is just probably trying to be yourself and turning it up because it's hard to believe and make people believe the random stuff that you're trying to portray.
Yeah, I won't lie, it's hard for mine too because I'm a split personality. So I'm three people. I'm not even just like myself. I'm 3. So it's like having to like showcase that in the ring and also in my promo work. My promo work I can do it, but like in the ring, I have to basically like talk to myself. And one thing I had to learn with it is that like in wrestling, you have to learn to just be silly with yourself. And I could not do that with wanting to talk to myself because I'm like talking to nothing. And I'm like, that's weird to me. Because like as a person, why are you like talking to nothing? So I had to teach myself like to think that there's a person right there and just be able to speak to it. And now like a lot of people who have seen me more often, especially like in Tucson and in Phoenix that know who I am, they know exactly what I'm doing. And then like they'll like react to the nobody that's there. And I'm like, no, you leave her alone. Like she's fine. And like I'll go tag myself in just because I'm like trying to tag the other personality, and I'll go in and be the other personality. Like they get behind it once they figure it out. And I know like the gimmick is hard, and it's hard for me. It's hard for the fans, but like once they see what I'm doing, they start to understand it. And like, that's how I've been able to kind of like get a lot of the fans is like, they're like, oh, she's not all here. She's weird. So yeah, but like, that's why I love Luna. Cause like she had that kind of gimmick, and like I heavy studied her because of that. to kind of like create my own like way of how I am and just turn it up to an 11 and be able to kind of like take it anywhere without having it to be restrained. So
I feel that. I feel that. What was I saying? Okay, I don't know if you ever had it, but I've been in the ring with just like one or two just like terrible referees.
mhm.
Have you ever had any of them like botch a match for you or mess up
Yes.
something?
Yeah, actually, it still like bothers me, but it's like it bothers me because like it messed up a good way me and Gypsy were actually blowing off our whole feud. But it happened in October or September of last year where we had our match cut short by like 3 minutes because the ref counted three too fast and he knew what the ending was, but still counted it. And my opponent was pissed, obviously. I was mad, but I even had to like kind of be like, yay. But also I had to play agitated because I was like, no, I shouldn't be that way because we want to win, like we want to actually destroy her. Cause like that was the whole point of like the whole promos we made up to that match. So like yeah, like he had ruined the whole ending. We had it cut by 3 minutes and like we walked to the back and like we both had to like cool off because I was like, God, why? Like and I was just kind of like agitated. He came and apologized to both of us and I was like, dude, it's okay. It's just like you knew the ending. So you should have like knew and were like should have been paying attention. And like I think because of that, our next match was a last woman standing match in December, and he was not part of that because of that. But we didn't request it. We didn't care. It was the promoter that did it because I think he understood like the mess up because he didn't just mess up our match. He also messed up the main event that same night that he messed up ours. So I felt really bad for him. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, we're mad, but we're fine now. But like, it still eggs at me because I was like, wow, that's the first time I ever had a botched match. And it wasn't from like what me or my opponent, it was from the ref.
I'm so glad somebody else has experienced that pain.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pain.
Okay. So I'm gonna do a couple more things and then we'll be finished here. But this is the heavy one. This is the one I like giving, and this usually gets good response from whoever, and this time it's you. So how do you want to be remembered? Maybe like when you're gone in this industry. What do you want your legacy to be?
I want to be basically remembered that as like a wrestler who was humble like the entire time, professional the entire time, was kind to everybody the entire time. Because I know in this business, like a lot of people have egos, a lot of people like just don't like each other. And I'm a person that just like, if you don't like me, that's fine. Like if you want to talk about it and explain, that's perfectly fine too. But if you don't want to talk to me, but you don't like me, I'm not gonna like take that and just be angry at you for no reason. But like I'm just a person that's kind to everybody, no matter where I go, whether it's in wrestling or otherwise. And I want that to be taken at least in the wrestling industry. As far as the fans, I want them to see like, yeah, somebody that's, thick like me that like could do these intense power moves and all this stuff. Like as a young kid who sees me is like, yeah, I can do that too. Like I seeing her, I can do something like that. Like I really want to do that. And I've had wrestling fans come up to me and say like I inspire them, and that like makes my heart swell up because I'm like, that's what I came to, like that's why I do what I do. Cause like that's what brought me to wrestling is I saw women's wrestlers getting their shine, like getting their like spotlight, their flowers, and really now being showcased more. And it's got me to being a wrestler who wants the same thing and wants the future wrestlers that are looking up to all of us to go, that's who I want to be like. And see like someone like me who's kind and professional and humble, like through and through, like from beginning to end, like is able to kind of like elevate herself through her own means to like wherever I end up going. Cause I'm just like, I want to go all the way up to tippy top, just like everybody else. or as most people, because I know like we all have lots of options now. But like regardless of where I go, I know like at the end of the day, for me, my whole mantra is to be professional, be humble, and always be kind. Because you never know when that one person you're not kind to will like take back what you said and take it to everybody else. So, so
Be kind, ladies and gentlemen. Be kind.
yes,
So let's we're to this. Let's get everybody your social media, like where they can find you, keep up with you, and all that good jazz.
yeah. So my Facebook is SOS. I have a page that's SOS, and I have an actual like one that people can request for friends as SOS because I can't just have my first name. My Instagram, Twitter, and also technically I have Hive, which I know some people were on. It's Save One's Soul. It's all together, no underscore or anything like that. And yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and TikTok is also the same thing, but I'm not really on there yet. I'm slowly learning how to work it because I've never been a TikToker until like recently, where somebody's like, "You should do it," and I was like, "Okay."
Right. That is my one. I was like, you got to do, even if it's YouTube just for matches, but like all the social media.
Yeah.
But then you have to like post it all these times, and it's just
Yep.
it is just bonkers. It is just bonkers.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, all right. Thank you for joining me today, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jackson Black. This has been another episode of the Jackson Black Show with my guest tonight, SOS, and this episode will be live very soon. We'll catch you there. See you guys.